Did you catch? You got a catch. Not my finger. Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi Grace, author of 10 young adult novels so far, 8 of which I'm trying to rewrite this year. Welcome to vlog 40 of that adventure. Also, welcome to the first week of NaNoWriMo. So, updates. Yesterday, Monday, the day before NaNoWriMo, did a lot of writing. I will let you watch that now. Okay, I was on a prickle. We're at 114,927 words. There are 6 more scenes on that list, the bracketed list of scenes at the bottom of the document. I honestly can't remember where I specifically drew that list from. It could have been from the original book, the number of scenes that were in it, or it could have been from my timeline, this sucker, which has all of the scenes in any of the books, although it needs to be updated with some of the new scenes from the rewrites. But anyway, wherever the list came from, there's 6 more scenes on it, one of which, at least, is probably not going to be in Alan's book at all. It's when Sir Guy of Gisborne proposes to Lucy, which is not really pertinent to Alan's story at all. So I might just axe that one. But I'll read, his section of the book and see if he had a scene that was in any way relevant regarding that specific thing. We have 20 more pages of the original book to go through. I don't know what that is in terms of thousands of words. It's 20 pages of double-spaced. The original book looks like this with all these white space. So it's not as many words as you might think 20 pages would be, because it looks like that. Anyway, basically, we're almost done with that. With the new outline, we are somewhere in the midst of fun and games right now. So they're having conversations about how much their lives suck, basically. They're bonding over that. So yeah, they're definitely starting to open up and like each other, basically. And then we're gonna hit the midpoint and you go from there. So it's definitely going to be longer than the 6 scenes that are left at the bottom of the document, but probably not too much longer. It's 7 o'clock right now, and I really wanted this done tonight. So we're just gonna keep trucking along and see how far we can get. There are 4 more. Are you back? Yeah. So, wrote 11,000 words on a Monday. Wild experience. Yeah, I don't know how that happened in my very limited free time, but it did, and there you go. Even with that ridiculous amount of words yesterday, technically speaking, we haven't finished Alan's book. So, let's write another 11,000 words today, and then we can start on our Nano project. Oh, this is a disaster, but it's fine. Yes, I do have my critique partner and my sister looking over the book in pieces now, so that there's some sort of edit happening on what's already been written. My actual editor won't see this book until much later, but don't question it. It's fine. I know that this is a disaster. You know this is a disaster. We both know that this is not how we should publish books. We're doing it anyway. Here we are. It's fine. Whatever. Yes. So, I'm very close to the end. I've hit, like, the last 10 pages of Alan's original book. Also the last 10 pages of the last book standing. I don't know if you noticed in the edit last night, but, yeah, so I have all of the books in the series open while I'm writing the next one in the series, so that I can see, I look at the original version, what scenes are in there, and then I look at the new rewritten versions to see how I changed specific scenes, so that I make sure I'm changing the next book in the series consistently with how it was changed in the other book. This is what happens when you write companion novels. They all have to match for some reason. Anyway, yes, so I had all of the books open, but then I got to the end of Dusty last Saturday, so that one was no longer a thing, and then I got to the end of Much's book last night. So the only book still standing is book 1, The Legend of the Thief. I almost didn't know what that was called. And then obviously, like, the original book. We're nearly there, you guys, but even being so close to the end, we're not to the end of, like, the new outline that I have, because it goes past where the original book ended, because the story needed to go farther. So it does. So I added those to my list at the bottom of the document. The only thing left on the list, I can't talk. The only thing left on the list, was the king coming home. And I've added a bunch of other things, which you can't actually, like, necessarily look at because it's spoilers for the end of the book. There's 9 points now, from the outline added after the king comes home. So all of that needs to be written. It's probably at least 1,000 words for each point. So yeah, I have to have another 11,000 word day today. It's fine, don't question it. And then we'll dive straight into Gisborne, for Nano. But also start reading and editing Alan. Guys, we finished another candle, but I said last time that I wanted to finish out the whole set, all of these, before moving on. However, the only one left is the one that made me sneeze when I first, like, sniffed it. I was sneezing and coughing. So do I risk it, or do I pick a different candle? Because there's some fun options now. I've got all of these, like, random things that I bought a while ago over the summer. I've got this super cute, fun blue one that I have no idea what it is exactly, except that it crackles, which is fun, and it's a gift from a friend that's passed along. This was for my birthday, and it smells delightful. What do we want to do? I don't know. What do we want to do? The problem right now, it's NaNoWriMo, and I didn't buy a Nano-specific candle, or make one. Last year I made one. It was a whole saga. Last year I made this candle, and it broke, and we had to get a replacement, and it was like a whole experience. But there's no Nano candle. I didn't make a survival kit this year, you guys. This was just, it's not even NaNoWriMo, is it? So, yesterday, wrote in both my Nano project and Alan. Finished Alan. It was quite a bit less word count than I thought it was going to be to get to the end. I might have been rushing a little bit. It's fine. It's all fine. So, yes, technically done with the rewrites. Now I have to read it, make edits, look at my critique partner's edits, and whatever my sister does, all in the next week. So this will be a great week. It'll just be spectacular. It'll be fine. Don't question it. Anyway, I'm not too stressed about it, but I'm sort of in a space of, like, this isn't going to happen, so it's fine. We'll just see how far we can get. Also, going to try to keep writing in Gisborne's story. I realized yesterday when I actually started writing, I never made a fresh Save the Cat, Romancing the Beat outline for Gisborne's story. I thought I'd done it for every single book, but I could not find one for Gisborne. So, at some point today I'm going to sit down and do that. Because I'm rewriting without changing the plot. Basically what I do is I look over what's in the original book, what's on the timeline of all the events that happen in all of the books, and figure out what my character's actual arc will be. So like with Much's book, originally all the books covered the same period of time, but with Much's book I realized that because his journey was growing into himself and like not being codependent on Robin or like putting his identity and his value in Robin, for Much, his finale was when Robin gets captured and Much has to like stand on his own 2 feet. Which is in the middle of the Sherwood shenanigans, so his book no longer goes to the end, which is fine. And then with Dusty, her whole journey of, like, burying her past self and, like, running from her grief and not letting anyone see her true self, her journey was about opening up to Will and, like, accepting herself again and, like, being brave enough to show herself to this other person. So her story ended with her wedding. Spoilers. Which is in the middle of the Sherwood shenanigans. So, like, the books are no longer ending as far along in the story as they used to. Yeah, all of that is to say, I never figured out what Gisbin's arc would be, I guess. Whether or not it will cover the same period of time that it does in the original version, or if it will end somewhere else. So I need to do that. And then we'll go from there. I wrote the prologue yesterday. Sort of dabbled in chapter 1, but not really. I was faking it. We'll fix it today. Somebody is sneaking into the room. Hi.
Coming in.
Alright, you come on in. I'm just about done.
What are you doing?
I'm talking to a camera.
Why?
'Cause I think it's fun. Anyhow, the first day of Nano, I made the word count, but I don't know. Anyway, I also have the extra, like, Allen words from yesterday, which were written in November, but I'm not counting in my NaNoWriMo whatever word count, unless I need to. Like, if I hit the end of the month and I'm short, I'll be like, I did write those other 6,000 words. I win. I mean, they count. I wrote them yesterday. They totally count. But because they're not in my Nano-specific project, they're not in that document. Math is hard for me, you guys. You don't want me to do math. So, it's much easier to just look at my Nano project and be like, this is how many words are in the Nano project. That's how far along I am. So I'm not doing the math unless I have to at the end of the month. But I'm, you know, hopeful I'll write 50,000 words in the Nano project. And... Hi, hello. Car update, because I just like doing these for some reason. You're rather precarious right now, and I can't promise that you won't fall down, but it's fine. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I'm spending this weekend going through my critique partner's comments and my sister's comments and editing the book. We'll see what happens. Obviously, it's not the official edit that my actual editor does, but it's fine. We're not stressed about it. We already talked about this. Anyway, I also today I dropped off I dropped off Dusty for my editor. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, yes. So, we are going through all of the comments and the edits. I've made it through 2 chapters this morning so far, and then I stopped because I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. So now I'm driving home and then we'll reassess. I like this is why I'm talking in the car, because after the hour-long drive home, I'll forget all of this. Anyway, I like the moments in the beginning. Like we have the Nottingham Fair situation when Alan is 4 years old, and he runs into Robin Hood, who's not Robin Hood yet because he's also 4 years old. And they have this whole moment, and I love it. I think it's super cute. I love that their families were connected for that day. And actually, in the original book, it's not in the current one right now, but in the original book, that relationship continued, and there was like a pen pal situation between the 2 moms, and like the families were connected. And then they stopped being connected over the years, and then Alan's whole family died, and then he had no idea that he was connected to Robin when he meets Robin later, and like, I loved that. But I cut most of it out of the new version, and I just kept the Nottingham Fair situation when they run into each other, and it's cute, okay? But I decided today while I was reading it that it's not really relevant in any way, shape, or form. Like, it doesn't actually add anything to the story. And also, just from a reader's perspective, it was a really slow, pointless opening to the book. I was like, why am I reading this book about a 4-year-old? Why do I care about this? I feel like huge fans of my stories. Hold on while we go over a bridge. Don't fall. Anyway, I feel like huge fans of my stories would enjoy the scene. I enjoy the scene. But I feel like it doesn't actually add to the story. It doesn't. Because the very next chapter is when he meets his love of his life. And that's when the romance in the Beat and Save the Cat outline really kicks off for the first snapshot, since there's like the 4, or 5 snapshots of his life, like I talked about, either on this vlog or the last one. Anyway, yeah, so I am thinking, here's what I'm thinking. Chapter 1 is when he's born, which I'm keeping because it's from Duncan and William's perspective, basically. It's like third person omniscient, honestly, the first chapter. It's fine. But it addresses it addresses William too. But it addresses Duncan's, like, fear of what he thinks is a curse of his family, because everyone's always dying or whatever. And that informs Alan's story later, because he believes in the curse once everyone starts dying. Basically, yeah, I want the first chapter to stay, because it also introduces William, and I cut a lot of William out of this book because I cut a lot of the pointless childhood scenes. And William has always been one of my favorites from Alan's story, but also my readers love William. They read Alan's book for William, not for Alan. Whoop, don't fall. So, yes, I feel bad that I was cutting William, and I want William. And William's in the sequel series, so you kind of need to know who he is. Anyway, yeah, we're keeping the first scene where Alan is born and we discuss the curse and whatnot. But I think I might cut the second chapter, which is the Robin and Alan Nottingham Fair situation, when they're 4 years old and it doesn't mean anything. I think it's really cute, and I love it, and I want it to still be a thing, so I'm going to hold on to that scene. I've held on to all of the William scenes that I cut out from the original book, and I might do, like, a William short story, or even full novel, I don't know. I might do something with William. Maybe I'll just do a short story and have it be like my newsletter cookie or whatnot. I don't know, but like, William deserves something. So I'm gonna keep the scene because it's cute, and hold it in the file with all the other scenes that I wanted to keep but didn't keep. And honestly, I think this is the right decision. I feel like it'll be a stronger story without this random fluff, like, it doesn't mean anything. It's cute, I like it. My critique partner thought it was really cute, but I was like, I'm not going for cute here. I'm going for, this is who Alan is because of the things that happened in his life, and this is why he makes the choices that he makes, and it's heart-wrenching and horrible. So him meeting Robin when he's 4 is not even important. The other thing is that there is also a scene where Alan is, like, making a gift for his sister, which is really sweet, and it does show Alan's love for his sister. I really like the scene. It also, there's a little hint of William and Flory in there too, which is good, because I cut all of William and Flory out of the book. Anyway, so I like it, but again, just reading the book as a reader and not the author who's intimately attached to all of these characters. Yeah, reading it as a reader this morning, I just wasn't connected to the first 2 chapters. I was like, this is random things happening to a child that I don't yet care about. And these random events are like, oh, that's cute, but it's not like, oh, I need to know what's happening in this man's life. You know what I mean? And I need, because the book is going to be 500 pages or whatever, I need the readers to instantly be like, I need to know what happens. They can't, you can't pick up a 500-page book and then, like, be 30 pages in and be like, I'm still bored. Because if you are, you're not going to remain invested enough to try 500 pages worth. You know what I mean? You do know what I mean if you're a reader. You know exactly what I mean. Anyway, so, yeah, I don't know that I want to cut the Alice birthday gift scene, but what I might do is rearrange it and make it a flashback way later in the story when Alan thinks about his sister, because he thinks about her all the time after she dies, or even like a little nugget, like cut it down so it's not a full scene, but have it so that it's still a memory in his childhood at the beginning. I'm not sure, but like keep it but not keep it, you know what I mean? That's what I think I'm gonna do with it, so that the story starts chapter 1, he's being born, there's possibly a family curse, and then chapter 2 he meets Erie and he's a teenager, and like we actually kick off the story. I think that's the best for the story, the book as a whole. Anyway, the sum of it all is that I'm rearranging things and going through comments and making like line edits and things like that. And that's what I'm doing for today and tomorrow. And then I am uploading the book such as it is and publishing it on Wednesday. We're never doing this again, ladies and gentlemen. We're never doing this again. But yeah, I don't feel too bad about the book as a whole because I know it's stronger already than the original published version, so I feel good about it. And also, with 2 sets of eyes apart from my own, which makes 3, going through it and finding things to change and edit and like catching my grammatical errors and my misspellings and like whatever, like there's multiple people combing through it looking for things, even though they're not like my official editor, so I feel like it's gonna be like decently edited, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm not actually that concerned. Obviously I'm still getting the books to my editor and I will update them as she updates them and that sort of thing. We'll see how much she caches, but honestly I don't expect there to be a lot, so I'm not concerned about it. Anyway, yes, we're editing all weekend, but also I would like to work on my Nano project as well. I didn't write yesterday, so technically we're behind. I'm doing a lot of rearranging with Gisman's story too, because his book starts out with his childhood, which I have changed, so that his book starts out where the story actually starts, but I am using all of the first 2 chapter childhood stuff as memories and flashbacks throughout, which works really well because in the original book, later in the story, when the story is actually happening, he hears his father's voice in his head all the time telling him that he's weak and he's pathetic and he's doing stupid stuff or whatever. Like, that happens all the time. And his mother's voice too, being like, you know, keep your heart and be compassionate or whatnot. Like, he hears voices in his head anyway. So I was like, I can just turn that up a notch and use these memories and flashbacks more, especially at the beginning, because it opens with his dad dying and then he's just like a wreck. So yeah. I actually really love what I'm doing with Gisman's book, but we're not very far into it because I've been more focused on Alan, and I haven't been writing a lot. Like, I've barely been writing the Nano daily word count. Obviously, I didn't yesterday because I didn't write in Gisman's story, but all the other days, I've barely been doing the 1667 Nano words, which is not normal for me, you guys, because on Monday, I wrote 11,000 words, okay? That's more my speed, which actually that day was huge and ridiculous. A good day for me is like 3,000 to 4,000, but it's Nano, which means I'm not usually having an average good day. I'm usually having an excessive time, okay? NaNoWriMo is when I write 11,000 words on a daily basis, you know what I mean? So it's been weird that I'm not doing traditional Nano at all, like I'm not writing a blank slate, fresh story, whatever. So that's weird and I don't love it, but it's fine. But then on top of that, I'm not doing a lot, to be honest. So the whole thing feels weird. But I think as soon as Alan is done this weekend, like Alan gets done, Alan gets published, I'm only doing Gisman's story starting Wednesday. I think at that point, the writing will kick up and be more like my usual Nano, let's get this done. But yeah, I have been very distracted bouncing between the projects. Especially because at the beginning of this week, I wasn't bouncing between editing Alan and writing Gisbin. I was bouncing between writing the end of Alan. So, like, I wrote 6,000 words on the first day of Nano, but those 6,000 words were Alan's book, not Gisbin's book. Which, like I think I said in this video already, I'll probably count for Nano, but I'll do that math later when I don't have to think about it. On the last day, I'll do the math. But right now, I'm not. Anyway, all of that is to say, I'm editing, and hopefully the writing of Gisbin's story will pick up more as we move forward. Okay, we made it back home. Can't speak. Yes, here we are. Have a lot to do. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is give myself like hour segments, time slots, I don't know, and like work on editing Alan for an hour, and then maybe write some Gisbin for an hour, or read for an hour, or like whatever, so that I'm not bogged down in one project the whole time, and also so I'm like doing things other than just like tedious edits all evening, or writing words all evening, like giving myself other things to keep my brain occupied. But we are going to start with editing Alan, because that's the top priority. Okay, hopping on a pup with my hedgies, making tea first though, and thought I should update, not really importantly, but like this candle, you guys, it's the only candle I have that I'm afraid to use on my bookshelf. I always have my candles on my bookshelf, which may or may not be wise, but that's just how I roll. I always have my candle on my bookshelf. I like this vibe, you guys. I like it. But this candle is like, have you ever seen a flame? Because I can give you one. Like every few seconds it's like, but wait, I can be taller. And I don't know how I feel about it. Stop it. Don't be taller. Stay below the glass. Ugh. Man, it's lucky I got this as like a secondhand gift situation, and the wax was already halfway down, because if I had lit this fresh and it had always been like this, someone might have died. Someone being one of these lovely books, especially because the first time I lit it on this shelf, which maybe you can't tell, or maybe you can, but this one is taller than this one. So this little sucker sitting right there was like, I'm gonna just burn all these books down. It was a little much. So there you go, that's my candle experience. I'm gonna give myself some tea and move forward. Other random updates. I didn't notice this when I did the unboxing, or when I stuck it on my shelf, or like literally anything, but later I noticed that Dusty came with a matte cover and not a glossy one, so I must have pushed the wrong button when publishing it. Which, you know, that tracks. I've been very rushed and, like, behind on everything and just like, do it. So, yes, it's the wrong cover. But what I've decided, through this little mishap, is that I prefer the matte. Not gonna lie. It looks and feels super nice. Yeah. I don't know if you can actually tell. Well, you can kind of tell. The light doesn't glint off of it. Anyway, yeah. It looks and feels different, and I don't hate it, so I don't know if I'm going to make all of them matte now, or if just like in the future the rest of my books will be matte, but like the Robin Hood series can be glossy. I don't know. I like the glossy look, but I like the matte better. The only concern is that opening Dusty, the like one time I opened it, there's already a crease. And obviously in my glossy books, there's no crease whatsoever, and I've opened these books a million times. So, if that's a matte versus glossy problem, I prefer the glossy. But if that's just that book in particular, because of the size or something else, like, then, I don't know. But it seems like a matte versus glossy thing, the crease, so that might be a problem. Because I do actually really like the look and feel of the matte cover compared to the glossy ones. And I kind of want to make the switch, but not if there's going to be creases in the spine. I don't know. Especially because with the bigger books, you know they're going to be open longer and like turned at various points, you know? So it's like, it's more likely to get creases anyway. If people are like if you read this like in a day, it's not, this is going to be open more. So I don't know. I don't want people to have creases. Anyway, I just have a thing for glossy books for some reason. All of these are glossy. I don't know why I decided to do glossy, but I did, and I stuck with it until I accidentally did not. And now I might switch over. I've been won over. This is unimportant. I'm getting on a prickle. Okay, I've cut the toddler scene with Alan and Robin, and I have currently cut the Alice's birthday gift making scene. I'm holding on to that one though, and I'm keeping an eye out as I'm continuing forward for a place where I might be able to put it back in, maybe a pared down version of it, but yeah, I'm keeping my eye out for a spot where it would fit. But moving forward, I do like this a lot better because chapter 1 is Alan being born and like, is there a family curse? We don't know. And then chapter 2, we meet Erie and the actual story kicks off. Like, it works so much better as storytelling goes. Yeah, I did stick the scene, the Robin Allen scene, in my other document. Actually, I really like, I've been stewing on it as I've been working, and I really like the idea of writing a book about William. Because everyone loves William. My readers love William. And I love William. And I had to cut like 90% of William out of this book. So, yeah. I'm just gonna write a William book next year. We're not doing it right now. Anyway, yeah, so that happened. It did take off an entire chapter, so then I did go through the document and like reorder the numbers because there's one less number, and so all of the numbers were off by one. So yeah, I did that really quick, which was kind of tedious, but like it needed to happen at some point. Yeah, it's been an hour and a half, and I said I was going to do an hour situation, so I might read for a few minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, and then we'll jump back into editing Alan, probably, because that's the priority, although I'd also like to write Gizman at least enough to hit nano word count, because I didn't write yesterday. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, I finished part 1 of 5. It's fine. I do like the first snapshot of Ellen's life, which I think I've decided to title them. Not sure what they will all be yet, but I was thinking things of like, we start at the beginning, like when he's innocent, and then we have the next section, which is when he's just in a really dark place. And then, you know, Sherwood and whatnot. Anyway, but I was thinking about titling them. So right now I put the first section as The Innocents. We'll see if I leave it that way. Anyway, but I finished the first section. But even though I like it, and my critique partner liked it, because I just went through all her comments, I kind of didn't feel like it was a great start to a novel. Like, I care about what's happening because these are my characters, but if this was the first book you had picked up, I don't know that you would want to keep reading because it's just this kid falling in love, and you're like, why do we care? I don't know. And like, it's the 4th book in the series, so people who read them in order will be like, we've seen Alan 3 times now. Curious about what makes him tick, would probably read it. But because I try to write them in such a way that they can also be standalones, if someone just picked up Alan's book, I can't imagine them being that invested. So, here's what just happened. And I'm really proud of it, actually. The first chapter of part 2, Alan is in London, and he's like sitting at this tavern watching the people around him doing things and like having purpose in life, and he's sitting there and being like, oh, that's nice for them. They don't know that their entire world could just implode in a flash. Anyway, he's in a rough space, and he's also thinking about the Crusades because he's currently training for that, and he's going to join the Crusades so that he can die, and he's contemplating all of this as he sits in this tavern. Yeah, and it's really good, I feel, because it's like, it's setting up that there's this character who's in a dark place, who's about to go on this journey, and like, you know that he's lost people, but it doesn't go into detail as to how, or when, or why, or whatever. Yeah, I moved it to chapter 1. So now the book starts, apart from the prologue, which is obviously Lucy and Mary Lou, and this is something else entirely. Chapter 1 starts with that scene of him being in a dark place, he's lost everybody, he's about to go on the Crusades to get himself killed. And then it goes back to the Alan and Erie love story situation, which I kind of like. It's like you have this moment with this character, and then you flash back and you're like, is this even the same person? He's so sweet and innocent and naive and whatever. Anyway, I love it. And then you follow his love story, and you get to everybody dying at the end, and then you get to part 2, Crusades. I like the way it's set up. I do. I like what I just did. Now I have to edit part 2 and 3 and 4 and